welcome to Pop-O-Holics, show about hot takes on them pancakes, where we love talking about monster movies. That same old song. Yes, we're talking about Godzilla and King Kong Dong. If this is your first time to the show, expect that level of critique and maturity throughout. My name is Christian Katie, the host of this godforsaken mess of a show. And I'm joined by Godzilla and King Kong himself.
Chris Conkling.
And Brian Dupree.
Who's who?
Dibs on Godzilla.
All right. King Kong over here. I'll take it.
I think you're the winner, Brian. And we're joined by a fan favorite, the Godzilla guru himself, Mr. Danny Lopez.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Glad to be back.
Thanks for being on the show. You were on our weekly upload. That was a lot of fun. We talked a lot about stuff. So check that out if you want to hear the latest in what we've been consuming in news and content and pop culture. But this episode, this month, is Godzilla month. I think it should... Part two. It is part two. I think it should have, based on the movie recovery, probably should have been King Kong month. But, it is what it is. Godzilla's more brand identity. All right? There's more Godzilla movies, I think. I don't know. I don't know any of this. Danny, are there more Godzilla movies than Kong movies?
Let me get my
while you're
calculator
checking.
real quick.
While we're checking, so this month is in honor of what we'll be covering, which is Godzilla versus Kong. This is the new film streaming for 30 days on HBO Max and in theaters now, breaking COVID-19 records, a whopping $9 million in the United States, and earning over $150 million worldwide, and probably more by the time that this actually airs. We're recording this the day after it came out. And we're going to talk about that movie. Danny, your research?
Yeah. Let's say that I've researched the movie, the character.
No. The research that I asked you to do. Are there more Godzilla movies than Kong?
Are there more Godzilla?
Well, after hours of computational calculations done by my supercomputer, yes. There is a lot more movies with the King of the Monsters, the G-Man himself out there.
Cool. The supercomputer is a different G-Man. No spoilers.
Also, we know that you've researched this movie. You've seen it more times than I think there are hours in between when it was released and our recording of this podcast. So, I don't even want to. I'm not even going to try to compute.
Allegedly,
you that's slept since the movie was released, but. Let's dive into it. We're going to be talking Godzilla versus Kong.
My chance. We have to take it. We need Kong. The world needs him. To stop what's coming. And this child, she's the only one he'll communicate with.
I knew that they had a bond. She had nowhere to go, so I made a promise to protect her. And I think that in some way, Kong did the same. Godzilla.
That is from the trailer of Godzilla vs. Kong, the latest in the big monster cinematic universe. Directed by Adam Wingard, written by Eric Pearson and Max Borenstein, score by Tom Holkenborg, a.k.a. Junkie XL. The budget of $165 million. So far, it's grossed $130 million. That is going to change and go up. And it stars Alexander Skarsgård, Millie Bobby Brown, Rebecca Hall, Kaylee Hottle. Is that right? Hottle.
Yep, Hottle.
Brian Tyree Henry, Julian, Dennison, and many more. What are we going to talk about? Our overall history with Godzilla. We've covered this in the past, but we'll kind of catch everybody up to speed. and our opinions of like previous films and our relationship with the character and everything. What are our non-spoiler thoughts of Godzilla vs. Kong? Then we're going to dive into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, pause it, watch the movie, catch back up. Or honestly, if it were up to me, it doesn't fucking matter. We're going to talk spoilers. What are the themes, if any? Good luck. What are our favorite moments? There's plenty abound. There's lots of fun monster stuff happening. And how does this stack up against the other MonsterVerse films? And then we'll land with our final thoughts. So it's going to be a fun conversation. Start with our history. Danny, we know you're the Godzilla guru, but if you can truncate your long history, I mean, you could probably spend the next 45 minutes talking about your last 15 hours of watching this movie. Somehow, I think you watched it on double X speed or something. But let's give a brief history of your relationship with the big lizard himself.
The king. I first started watching Godzilla. My first exposure to Godzilla was the Hanna-Barbera cartoon. My aunt always knew that I liked dinosaurs, and we were flipping through channels looking for cartoons for me as a kid. And suddenly this green giant dinosaur that could be fire and was kicking another monster's ass kind of came up. And
you were like, that's the best dinosaur.
That was the best dinosaur. Breathes fire, and at the time, the Hanna-Barbera cartoon, laser eyes and whatnot. I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool. A little bit after that, my same aunt got me my first live-action Godzilla film, which was, oddly enough, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, which at the time was called Godzilla versus the Cosmic Monster. It was a descent into madness after that. I got really, really into the character, just loved how cool he was. I loved the roar. I loved the atomic breath. And I started watching everything from the 1954, 1956, which is the American version of the 1954 original movie, so on and so forth. I got really into the Heisei era. Chris has heard me talk about the Heisei era of Godzilla the most. I think it's one of Godzilla's most definitive eras. It's where the entirety of the multiple movies that they released had a continuity, one after the other. The story was one single story altogether, all the way up to the MonsterVerse. I've been with Godzilla since I was probably, I think, 3 or 4 years old, and I can, like you said, I could go on for 45 minutes talking about Godzilla, but that's the small summary version of it.
That'll be a bonus app where we'll just let you talk about your relationship with Godzilla. You can go more into the meet cute, your first moments, growing old together, dealing with back pain, all that stuff. But
Danny's Godzilla
absolutely.
Group talk section.
I like that. We should make that happen.
He's very special to you. Is the main takeaway is that he's a childhood friend you've grown up with.
Absolutely.
I'd say there's better idols in the world, but you know what? You don't choose who we idolize as children. Hey, he's the king of them. He's definitively one of the coolest lizards around.
If I had to pick a monster, at least my affliction to the king of the monsters, I think is better than just a random old kaiju.
Interesting. Chris, your history with Gojira.
Prior to us doing that whole long Godzilla month with Danny in 2019, my only experience with Godzilla had been the horrible 1998 film with Matthew Broderick.
Which we covered and enjoyed immensely.
We did cover, and one of us enjoyed it immensely, and I'll say it wasn't me. But, I've grown an affinity for Godzilla over the last 2 years, starting with that Godzilla month that we had here on the podcast, watching those movies with you guys. Over the course of the pandemic, Danny and I actually sat down and had several watch parties where we're making our way through the Heisei era of Godzilla in order. And it's been a lot of fun. And I have to say, I love the aesthetic of that Heisei Godzilla. Not all Godzilla movies are A+ cinema, but they're a lot of fun. And if you like big monster fights and you appreciate, visual effects and creature design, I think there's a lot to love here about the Godzilla franchise. And that's kind of where I've found my love for this franchise is gravitating toward, seeing all the big cool monsters and what they look like and how they're designed and stuff. As loyal listeners know, I'm also a stupid, huge fan of toys, and Godzilla has some really fucking epic toys out there. And yeah, I may have picked up some of those over the last 2 years as well. But I really love it. I think Godzilla is a lot of fun.
Brian.
Yeah, so my first introduction to Godzilla was the 1998 American Godzilla. It kind of has a special place in my heart because it was one of the first movies, one of the first PG-13 movies I remember watching, and it was I slept over at a friend's house and his parents let us watch it, so I enjoyed it.
Dude, I saw it at a sleepover too. That's so weird.
Yeah, so it kind of holds a special place in my heart for that. Looking back, I appreciate it. I appreciate its ridiculous campiness. I had fun watching it, but I actually hadn't seen any of the other classic Godzilla movies going into when we covered it, and was pleasantly surprised by we watched Biollante as well as Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla was I think stands above a lot of the other stuff. It is just incredible and much more recent, 2016 I believe. But yeah, I am similarly really excited to dig back into this. I know I told the guys, I'm not sure if Danny knows, but I recently got the Criterion Collection Godzilla release that is just incredibly beautiful pop art, and the whole oh gosh, which era is
it? It's the Showa era.
The whole Showa era. Yeah, from the start. And since we did that month, I was actually able to see a live screening of the original Godzilla Japanese version, and was pretty blown away by that movie. Actually, it's absolutely incredible. And I know you guys had seen it prior, but I saw that late 2019, I think. But yeah, I'm super excited to get into that. Oh yeah, what am I saying? Danny was able to come and see it with us.
I was about to say, I mean, not only am I extremely proud and so happy that you guys have actually grown an affinity for the G-Man, but yeah, I was going to say that Brian was very generous and letting me know that they actually had a showing of the original 1954 unedited version of the film, playing at a historic theater.
Yeah, the Tampa Theater.
Over at Tampa Theater. And I obviously accepted the invitation. There was no question. I still have the ticket from that night, actually. Yeah, it was actually a very special treat seeing the original 1954 Gojira in actual cinema, something that I thought I would never have the privilege of experiencing as a Godzilla super fan. So Ryan, thank you for thinking of me to go see that awesome showing.
Oh, of course.
I have a very similar background to Brian, which is not a lot of Godzilla, 98 Godzilla. I would actually categorize like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers as influenced, and some of the stuff I watched that was very similar. Like, think about it, when they turn into the big Megazoid and they have those fights, it's very similar to the set pieces in the older Godzilla movies. So I definitely had exposure to that type of filmmaking and the type of big monster fights. Then we covered it on our show here, and that was a really great exploration. I'm not falling in the same line. I think some of the music's cool, for sure, and definitely some of the creature designs. Chris, I think you're pointing out a lot of really great things. I do not have this personal connection. I do think Shin Godzilla is kind of like a classic movie. It's a great. It's one of the beautiful things about art and about characters and IP and stuff is that you really can make your own thing, and I think that pays tribute. Although I haven't seen the 50s Godzilla, this definitely feels like the most home to the Japanese and the relationship with Godzilla, and that for me was very special. And I do, if there was one Godzilla movie I want to watch, it's probably the 1950s one. But other than that, I don't. We covered it. I don't have a very special personal connection to Godzilla, and I don't expect a lot from these movies. And I think a big part of that was I was burned pretty hard, and one of the reasons why I'm taking a stronger stance on trailers, which is that I'm on record of saying several times this podcast. If you're a listener to the show, I'm sorry if I'm uncovering old dirt, as one would say. The trailer for Godzilla King of the Monsters is one of the best trailers that's ever existed. And it combines things that I love, like sci-fi. Like big monsters aren't specifically my favorite thing, but I love taking supernatural premises and elevating them to like higher forms of art while having good action and character development. And that original Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is the last movie, did this come out? Godzilla King of the Monsters came out after Skull Island, correct?
Correct.
Yes, it was the
That was
2019
the whole
release.
reason. That was the whole reason we had the first Godzilla month, was because Godzilla King of the Monsters was being released.
It all adds up. Listen, not the best memory. Thank God I got you guys. I'm going to beat this horse to death. That trailer was so good that it made King of the Monsters a real big old fat disappointment for me for a lot of reasons that we'll get into later. And that kind of burned me on like what these movies are trying to do and what they are. But, we'll go into our thoughts about this particular movie. So this movie is Godzilla vs. Kong. This is the follow-up. We've had Kong Skull Island. We've had a couple of Godzilla movies, and now we're getting them duking it out in like class. We're in like mid-stage kaiju like series, which I think, Danny, you're like, I can just see you. You're peeing yourself with excitement over there about where we are right now. And I think that is like really cool to like just be in the middle of it where they can just throw shit against the wall. So what, with it being now we've developed, we've had a Marvel Cinematic Universe style. We've had, the characters have had their own movies. Okay. They're in it together. We're throwing in some like wild cards here and there. We're having the Versus movie made by like a bunch of Americans, full $800 million budget to CGify King Kong and Godzilla. Does this live up to our hopes and dreams? Does it give the G-Man the credit he deserves? What are our overall thoughts? Without spoiling anything, Godzilla vs. Kong. Danny, very excited to hear, you've only watched it 7 times in the last 24 hours. So I have to think that you like the movie a little bit.
Little bit, yeah. I think this isn't the first time they've put the big monkey against the giant radioactive dinosaur. Back in the 60s, there was a movie called King Kong versus Godzilla. And
which we're going to be watching this month.
We sure are. And I am not really excited to watch that movie.
Oh, you think you're not excited? Danny, I'm trying to put out an EP this in the next couple of months. I'm going to put out music and I have to work. And I dedicate a lot of hours to this show. And I am being forced to watch what you consider a lesser movie in the genre that I don't care about. I love you, Danny, and I hope that you know that.
Oh, I absolutely know that you love me. And you know what? I love you even more. And I love you more because you're going to watch it. And I am so excited
to put me through that. Yeah, I got you.
To put you through that. It was a very different take on the two big rivalries of the Eastern and Western cultures. They're two proper kaijus. Kong representing the West, Godzilla representing the East.
Oh, is that what's going on?
I mean, I guess no. this movie's completely
in
different
in the original.
The original.
Oh, that sounds. I mean, that sounds interesting. I'm more interested now for that movie. Anyway, continue.
But in the new movie, I do really like what they did with the special effects, the visual upgrade of actually seeing the monsters emote to a certain degree, and actually see kind of the hate for that they have for each other as a species was kind of a pleasantry that you couldn't really get back in the 60s when the original King Kong versus Godzilla came out. So it was definitely a treat seeing that classic revived, updated, and even there's kind of little tropes in the movie that they actually pay tribute to the original King Kong versus Godzilla. And also
I'm so happy for you, Danny.
Yeah. I can keep on going without even spoiling it. Keep on going for hours. But I did like what they did with the monster design. I loved what they did with the animations and the battle scenes, and even what they did with certain characters that we'll get into in the spoiler section.
There are characters in this movie. Interesting.
Yes.
Am I spoiling my thoughts about the movie with our preamble? Chris, you're someone who enjoys a good kaiju movie. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. You know what? I had a lot of fun with this movie. I went into this film with I was excited but lowered expectations, obviously, because I understand what the genre is. Like, I'm not expecting Citizen Kane. If we go back and listen, I don't remember exactly what my thoughts were on King of the Monsters, but I would say that with that film, I was pretty disappointed in the human side of things. I don't understand why the kaiju genre can't find a good balance between interesting human characters and big monster fights. I don't think it would be that hard, but hey, I'm not making the movies. You know,
it's challenging.
I
would concur that it is not an easy equation to solve to satisfy the people that are fans of the genre as well as deliver.
I would agree with
an
that
emotionally
as well.
telling
you know,
human story.
The last time they tried to tell that emotional human story was in 2014, and that movie didn't have a lot of Godzilla because they were focusing so much on the humans. And I really enjoyed that movie. Godzilla's most recent first outing in the United States since Zilla appeared on the scene in the 90s.
Zilla.
But I know fans had a lot of issues with that film, and that's kind of led to this power struggle between what are we doing with the humans and what are we doing with the kaiju here. And I think this movie actually gets pretty close to nailing it. I'm not going to say that all the human characters are interesting. The characters that are following Godzilla's arc are very boring. And I'm sorry to say, Millie Bobby Brown and Julian Dennison.
They're trying.
And
Brian
Tyree Henry. Out of all the actors in this film,
they deserve no fault whatsoever. They are doing good out of what they have.
Yes, and to that point, I want to say that Brian Tyree Henry is actually one of the standout performances in this movie.
For sure.
But unfortunately, the material that he's working with in terms of the Godzilla half of the narrative in this film just didn't really resonate with me, and I found it kind of boring, and I really wish they would have kind of just replaced it with Godzilla himself. Like, I would have rather have seen more Godzilla than everything that was going on with that with that particular portion of the story. However, I do have to say, I absolutely loved everything that's going on with Kong in this movie. I think Kaylee Hottle is delivering an amazing performance. She's such a cute little girl, and she's actually a deaf actress playing a deaf character, and her interaction with Kong throughout the film is so heartwarming and human, which is something that these movies have struggled to do.
Strongest
find
part
the
of
human
the movie,
elements.
I think.
I completely agree, Brian. Find that strong human connection between the monsters and the people. It's such a difficult line to ride. And I think they did it. I think they did it with that little girl and Kong's relationship. It's very, very sweet, and I really found myself feeling connected to them, which is so hard to do in these types of films. In terms of the monster battles, these are the best monster fights we've seen in the entire Monsterverse, in my opinion. Like, everything Legendary has done so far, it was awesome seeing Godzilla fight Ghidorah in the last film. But in terms of the film as a whole, compared to the other ones, I think this is them firing on all cylinders. So if that doesn't say that I had a fun time with this movie, the film has its problems, but I think this is kind of the best that they've done so far. And I'm excited to see where they go in the future.
I agree with that. I really, really like that take, Chris. I really, really enjoyed the monster aspect. I personally go into any kaiju movie not really expecting a in-depth human story, but you are right. As somebody who adores Godzilla, I will 1000% agree with you that the Kong storytelling portion and the relationship that he had with the little girl was pretty spot on. I think they developed the character. Also considering that Godzilla had 2 films prior.
Yeah.
And Kong only had 1. I can see why they had to balance it out and kind of give Kong that personalization a little bit more.
Hear that, people? Approach this film as if it's a plenty of fish date. Okay, set your expectations reasonably low, and anything that surprises you will be exciting.
It's icing on the cake.
Brian, your thoughts on Godzilla vs. Kong?
So, just a quick thought on the Monsterverse generally. It seems like they put every single conspiracy theory imaginable in a bag and shuffled it up and picked at random like a certain number that they had to just reference in every movie.
Have you heard of Flat Earth? Well, let's blow your mind with Hollow Earth.
Hollow Earth.
Oh, and it's built upon the whole time. there's some consistency, but just astounding levels of just throwing grab bag style every conspiracy imaginable. So yeah,
And it's like, does it make the plot better? No, not really. Does it? Is it like, was it necessary for the plot? I don't know, but we did it.
But with that being said, it's kind of this thing where you're just like, WTF for half the movie. Like, they just say things that they're never going to explain, and you just go along with it. And I had so much fun with this movie, honestly. I think the Kong movies are the strongest human stories in the MonsterVerse for me. I recently watched Kong for the first time, and that movie is really, really great and knows exactly what it is. It doesn't take itself very seriously. And yeah, Christian, I know you sang its praises for the last few weeks, and I definitely am in agreement there. But yeah, the stuff happening here with Kaylee Hottle and her pseudo mother character Rebecca Hall playing Eileen Andrews, that stuff is really working well, and I think provides a nice emotional core to this movie that grounds the gigantic monster stuff that's happening. That I have to say I really enjoyed, and I'm just a total softie and feel bad whenever animals are hitting each other. But the back and forth of this, I felt bad for pretty much everyone involved at different points. So I was on the emotional journey of these fights, which I think is showing that it worked for me. Yeah, aside from that, the movie basically starts off with Kong as Shrek. It's like just perfect, and just I was
we
kind
have
of
to do an edit of
from
like
there.
when he's like waking up and stuff, and
Right? You see
somebody.
It's exactly what I was thinking. But yeah, I feel like you're kind of either in or out for these movies. It's not about the plot. It's not about what's actually happening. You know,
Not about the story. It's not about
It's
like
not really
about the story.
It's
Yeah.
about
I do-
monsters beating the fuck out of each other.
I do want to say, even though it was kind of absurd, and the fact this old, like, I don't know, 30-year-old man is running around with like high school kids, I thought it was kind of charming. Their bits, like, it's kind of cheesy, but I had fun coming back to that side of the story, and yeah, I didn't think it was necessarily a total negative for me.
Awesome.
So I have said, like Brian had mentioned, Kong Skull Island is my favorite from all these. I think it strikes this balance of just keeping a really consistent, fun tone. You care enough about the characters. There's enough interesting characters, or like characters that you hate, characters that you love, and a good amount of the monster. The monster itself you can empathize with, and I think that helps because Kong is, you know, close to our ancestors as humans. So and he's got a face like a regular. He's got like a monkey face, so that helps him like look sad and look happy. So I think it's easier to like convey emotion than a lizard who just kind of looks like Clint Eastwood. So I think Kong is the Kong movie was at an advantage, and I think it takes full advantage. And that to me is like this perfect mixture of
Danny, where'd you get that picture of Clint Eastwood?
of fun monster. Fun human interaction that's just like a good ride, right? You just want to make a good like universal theme park ride out of these things, right? And so that's why I say that Godzilla, when it came out, was just trying to be a little too serious and just didn't nail it. And I think there's room. I think someone in deft hands can nail it. I think they really can. I really thought they were going to do it with King of the Monsters. They sold me on the fact that they could do that. They had Tywin Lannister in there going, the king is here, or whatever he said. And I was like, I'm fucking in for it. Yes, let's talk about titans and like
Long live the king?
like nature just defying humanity. And then the movie was nothing about that. But Claire de Lune, wow, use that in trailers, great. Anyway, so overall disappointed by a lot of the Godzilla outings. And then Kong Skull Island was kind of like, if I want a monster movie that's fun, it kind of was delivering. And this movie is mostly that, and that's great. And I think it's working for that. It's a fun movie. I wish I could see it in the theaters. Pandemic, fatigue, where you just like, I just like, this is the kind of movie that you just want to see with your friends in the theater.
It's huge.
It's huge. And the scale, I love that they take the time to like remind you of the scale of things throughout. The special effects are just incredible. They're really great. And they're great set pieces that make us, there's like a moment when like Kong and Godzilla like face off and honk like or somewhere. I don't want to spoil it, but they like face. It's the moment where like they turn, and I actually had to go pee, so I was pausing it. Thank God HBO Max, and I was like, I gotta go take it. But there's a moment where Kong's like, or Godzilla's like frozen and looking. I'm like, oh shit, it's on. I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta get my drink, and I gotta get ready. And I was in it, and like
Fight night.
Yeah, and the special effects are just so good. I can't emphasize that enough. That this movie looks great, and most of it is excellently done in that. I just wish that like you don't like match the tone of Skull Island for me. It's like either take it seriously and make it about big things and characters we care about. Like either commit to that or make the characters really fun archetypes that interact with our characters. And this movie does not strike that balance well. I think it wants a little too much of one thing or the other, but it mostly focuses on just fun, goofy antics. It's goofy in a way that makes the seriousness of the monsters facing off against each other feel less than like it's absurd. It's absurd what our characters like. When the Millie Bobby Brown side plot with Brian Tyree Henry is just like it's goof. It's goofy in not a fun way. It's goofy in an impractical way. The plot of the movie, like the very pinnacle of it, ends with just something so ludicrous and stupid and like literally like a bunch of drunk writers at the end going like, "What the fuck do we do now?"
Perfectly stupid.
It's oh god. But the movie like wants you to
because it is a MacGuffin, right?
No,
like
sure,
you know that something's gonna happen with.
Sure, but like the problem is that the movie has this like I think okay arc with the deaf girl and the big monkey that is like working on some level. Chris, I think you're right. There is a human emotional connection. But then that happens and it's like, it's too conflicting, right? And it's not, it's a hard tone. I admit it. And it's hard to make movies. I recently just co-directed a music video for some music stuff I'm doing, not to make this all about me like I always do, but it's hard to make cinema. It's hard. And I think this movie's mostly doing good stuff. I have a lot of respect for the talent on display. There's a lot of talent being had. And I think mostly it's effective as a fun diversion entertainment monster flick. So I do think it's one of the better ones in this Monsterverse, certainly. And like just the set pieces themselves, comparing it to King of the Monsters, if we're just going on kaiju interactions, the human stuff is shorter. So that's great already. It's not much better, but it's shorter, which is on instantly makes it better. But like the set pieces themselves, King of the Monsters has a lot of dark blue fog throughout like the whole movie, and the set pieces are dark and like it's like lightning, and it's like the end of
maybe trying to
Wonder Woman
hide
84.
some
it's like the end of
CGI
Rise of
elements.
Skywalker, where it's just like a blue epileptic seizure fest. And so it was hard to connect with the emotion of that, and it's got stuff with Mothra and all that stuff that I was just like I'm just not vibing with it. This movie, I think, it's like it shoots it out in brighter areas. It puts our characters in positions where they're weakened, and I think that emotionally helps, especially with like Kong and his vulnerability as a Titan. And I think that adds to the emotion. It's frustrating, honestly, in like a good way. It was like frustrating to watch like that beginning action scene that we see because we know that our character, you know, like at least for me, sorry, Danny, I'm a Kong boy.
That's fine. You're Team
I'm
Kong.
Team Kong,
we have Team Kong and Team Godzilla. It's perfectly
And that's
fine.
what's cool about these movies.
Perfectly balanced as all things should
That's
be.
like the social interaction that's cool about like a versus is almost like a fight, like a UFC fight or a boxing match where like I went into work and we were voting on who you think would win. I'm like, Kong, he's got hands, like tools and stuff. Like,
Man's got hands.
I was like, man's got hands, and he's got a face. All right, grumpy old lizard can go fuck himself. And
I only got 2 words for you, Christian. 2 words for you. Atomic breath.
Yeah, I get you. There's lots of atomic breath in this film, but it's really cool to like have that. Like, it's a fun thing that makes it more fun for people to talk about because you coming like us even theming this around Godzilla. I'm like, this is much more of a Kong movie. It really is. Like Kong is the monster we care about. We're supposed to care about, and Godzilla, although we understand his intentions and everything that's going on with him, he's a very ancillary character, and honestly doesn't quite matter as much to the parts kaiju and human that we're supposed to relate to. So yeah, that's my overall thoughts. I think it's listen, if you're like I want to watch monsters fight, I don't think you're gonna be mad. I think it's right. Serving that up, serving up hot and tasty. And I think I would fully agree. This is the best monster fights in Legendary's monster multiverse. So
Yeah, it's definitely a much more colorful movie, like you said, and it's definitely a little bit more about Kong. But like I said earlier, to be fair, Godzilla already had 2 films. Kong definitely needed a little bit more backstory and kind of more developmental. Give the audience the chance to connect with that character.
Yeah, and I think the plot stuff, as silly as it is, and we'll get into that in spoilers, I think that Godzilla ends up sympathetic at the end of the day too, right? So I think they're very proactively, like, they thought
Definitely.
about both characters, and it's not really a right and wrong thing, right? But it is good to see them fucking punch each other in the face.
Well, that was great.
All right. Anything else before spoilers?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's jump into
Let's break
spoilers
loose.
for Godzilla versus Kong. All right, so what's this movie about? Danny?
Fuck Apex.
It's about a giant radioactive dinosaur kicking a monkey's little ass more than once.
Wow.
That's
Deep themes.
that's harsh.
Yeah.
I feel, by the way, I feel personally attacked by that. As a Kong
what?
boy. As a Kong boy over here.
As a
I think
Kong boy-
Hashtag
Kong
Kong boy.
gets what he wins a battle, but not the war, right? Is that
No, he wins round 2. That's all he wins. And you know what? Here's the thing. Like, now that we're in spoilers, now I can go full. I'm breaking the chains. Now I can go ham. Here's the thing. Each time Kong was successful in anything that he did, he had human help. If you look at the movie, the 7 times that I did, Kong had human help. When he goes into Hollow Earth and he is attacked by one of the salamander-looking monsters, salamander starts choking him. And if the humans didn't intervene, that salamander would have killed Kong. Not even Godzilla. It just shows that he's just a monkey.
Whoa.
Sorry, Kong boys.
He's
Damn right.
All right. Hot takes.
These are real hot takes
takes.
steaming.
Real hot takes.
Maybe it takes like plot
no,
development
no.
for us to care about Kong, and that he's vulnerable, and that he's not perfect, and that he's aligned with the human characters. And
Exactly. Which is why Godzilla is a god and Kong is the king of Little
you know,
Island.
my
That's
question
fine.
is, why are we shooting missiles at Godzilla? Like, every time they would line up and be like, we're gonna
Every
fire,
time.
we're gonna shoot Godzilla. I'm like, why? You're just gonna make him scream and that's it? I don't know why anybody fires missiles at Godzilla.
Yeah. It's been over 60 years that people have been firing missiles at Godzilla, and they've done nothing.
You
We
know?
never learn. We
maybe
never learn
this
as a
time.
race.
Maybe this time. Maybe this is the perfect shot that just goes in the perfect little.
Into Godzilla's
scene in-
asshole. And gotta find the G spot on the G-man. Shovel missile into it.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh, this is getting dark.
I'm pretty sure
what
if
else can I
Godzilla
say?
climaxed, it would end the world.
Probably. There's something like that in Godzilla versus Destroya.
A different type of atomic blast.
Yeah, different type of atomic blast.
So Danny, if there are any themes in this film, and I have, some ideas of what those themes could potentially be.
Sure.
What do you think those themes would be in this movie?
Besides animal brutality, because the fights are pretty aggressive. But when Kong and Godzilla are duking it out, it's actually, like you said, it's some of the best Legendary has done. I think personally, I liked the part of humans thinking that they can control everything. Like humans thinking that whatever they like, no matter what natural element, which in this case is represented by the Titans, specifically Godzilla, they still want to try to be the kings of the world. So lo and behold, they make Mechagodzilla, and thinking that they can surpass nature, they can surpass these all powerful beings, the Titans, and it backfires.
No.
For all the amazing, nostalgic, and awesome reasons, it backfires. It was a fantastic tribute to Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, and Mechagodzilla just kind of going rampant with a personality of a different monster.
Danny, I agree that that's the only thing you could derive from this movie as far as the theme goes. I would say the meta-contextual theme is that you can fuck up Hong Kong and no one cares. because your audience is China and the United States, so who gives a shit about Hong Kong? That's what I figured. They wreck Hong Kong and it paid little tribute to the fact that that city is completely destroyed during this filming. And but they
and a little part of Florida. As somebody from Florida,
Pensacola.
You know, I watched this.
Pensacola.
I watched this with my girlfriend. I literally looked over and said, "No one gives a shit if Pensacola, Florida, is wiped off the face of this earth." Chris or Brian, did you derive anything else that this film was trying to say?
I mean, I think Danny has a good point. He brings up a good point. Like most Godzilla films are typically about humans versus nature. You know, they typically have some type of ecological message that they're tying into the movie. It's not always very strong, but like for the most part, that's usually what the Godzilla films are about. Outside of the giant monster fights in this film, I don't think there's a whole lot of messaging to be derived. Maybe there's slight anti-corporation messaging with Apex and Brian Tyree Henry's character kind of investigating this larger conspiracy as a whole in this giant company. But like even that is super surface level. Like it's not pushing that messaging too hard, but I think it's fair to say that it does exist in the film. At the end of the day, the movie's about two monsters kicking each other's butts, but like there are some elements that I think you could pull from the story. Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting because as you guys have been talking about it,
Is
there's
it?
definitely the. Well, I came up with something that I hadn't thought of in this way before as Danny was talking, but definitely some anti-corporate stuff, and overall, it's kind of this corporation manufacturing violent situations to justify the heinous things that they're either experimenting on or working towards developing. So there's kind of this this weird thing where the whole thing is kind of a manufactured event by ultimately the one guy at this company from Apex. But companies just being shitty and self-serving. It is very surface level. Brian,
Daddy gets what Daddy wants. Do you guys like that hot chick who's just like hot and she's just being hot and then she just comes out and says Daddy gets what Daddy wants and then dies? That was that.
Dude, Eiza González was just in another movie that we watched. I Care a Lot. She was Rosamund Pike's girlfriend in that movie.
Oh, was that her? Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. Yes. I was thinking Promising Young Women. Chris, have you seen that yet?
I haven't. I'll be spending my money on a promising young woman first.
Had to drop
There
it.
it is.
Had to drop
I think
it
your
in.
HBO subscription charges you monthly would say differently. Anyway.
But yeah, the whole thing with Brian Tyree Henry, like we said, it's kind of just a grab bag. There's not a whole lot being explicitly said, but on a high level that. And just, I think kind of this general idea of where humans come from and how we're more similar to animals than we realize, even these titans in some cases. Something that, the whole series is kind of trying to get across, trying to get us to empathize with these characters. Aside from, potential, if you're trying to read any legitimacy into the theories espoused in this movie, there's the Hollow Earth theory and this whole idea of an inner Earth and a whole world there and where the kaiju come from, which it really didn't get explored after they talked about a power source,
No, and they were
who
like,
cares?
I'm going to share a brief here. This is like a stupid plot thing.
It might power the kaiju. I was like, why would it
They
power
were like,
the kaiju?
we need Kong to lead us to the Hollow Earth, but they had a whole hole dug that seemed like a straight shot to the Hollow Earth.
They knew exactly where it was, and it was a
They
giant
needed
volcano
Kong
thing.
to lead him
It's
to
like,
the
you saw that.
throne.
to the
to
throne
the
area
power
to the power source. Yeah, that's literally all that was. Because they needed a way to power Mechagodzilla.
So they could go to the Hollow Earth. Okay. But they just
I
didn't
will
know
say-
where in the Hollow Earth. Couldn't get a satellite down there. Couldn't do an expedition.
Yeah, he was the tracker for them.
The gravity is too intense.
Eileen
Gravity
Andrews,
ships.
when they're in the Hollow Earth, she is sexually aroused by Kong. There's a moment where You have to go back and look at it. Danny, you've seen it 7 times. You got to back me up here.
I agree.
She says
I'm
something.
backing you
It's
up.
something like, he can move, can't he? Or something like that. It's like, he really can move.
I know what
really
scene you're
can-
talking
yeah,
about.
I
First
know
phase, I was just
exactly.
like, is she trying to fuck Kong? Like, is that what's happening
I
right now?
mean,
She spent a lot of time with him.
This is it's the father figure that Gia needed. It's just
Yeah.
Kong. It's the moral of the movie.
speaking about the Hollow Earth, I mean, I'm not one for conspiracies. I do think that the idea of a different world being underneath us, I think that's a cool kind of idea. Literally just that.
Sure.
I really did like what they did with it having 2 planes of existence. So you had like 2
Almost
surfaces.
a portal or something that.
Right, because you still have the core of the actual planet, but then you also have the actual ceiling of this world. I thought that was a pretty cool, kind of visually interesting concept.
I dig that like the Hollow Earth was separated basically by the equator. And if you crossed the equator, you would enter into like a different gravity shift. I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, I one of
I
the
didn't
most
think about it
stunning
like that.
visuals of the film, and this is what's frustrating sometimes. There's such
Agreed.
powerful visuals. Is the one where Kong's going up the mountain and the 2 little rover gravity vehicles are behind him, and it's like
The
a
heaves.
silhouette. Like that's an incredible shot. I watched that. I was like, that's the most gorgeous shot in this whole film. So there's a lot of really cool visuals happening there.
And we haven't talked about it, but the stuff with sign language, I don't know if it's a theme exactly, but just showing Kong's capability for language or understanding in a way that hasn't been shown prior. And
Except for on like a
giving an
Discovery
actual-
Channel thing on Primates. So.
My favorite line of the entire movie. Did the monkey
Sure.
just talk?
I know. It's so so perfect and ridiculous.
God, he's awful. Who is
Yeah.
that guy? That guy is Skarsgård's son, Alexander Skarsgård.
Alexander
God,
Skarsgård.
he looks like MacGruber in the first part. He's terrible. And but that whole character sucks. What is that character? What happens to that?
Is he
character,
better than Kyle Chandler? They gave Kyle Chandler like 2 minutes of screen time in this movie.
he had
Yeah, they
nothing in
replaced
this
him
film.
with an equally boring character. So no.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Just like, do you remember that guy from the last movie? We're going to focus on his daughter more in this one, but I mean, like, we want to let you know at least that he still exists.
God, that scene sucks. And it's like at the beginning of that movie where he's like, I got a crazy idea. And he's like, I like crazy. And that's all.
Yeah, I like crazy. It makes me money, I think is what he says.
Ugh. He's like, I got a robot dinosaur in my laboratory. Oh boy. Anyway, so themes in my part, I shared them. You guys have covered anything that you could possibly scrape from this movie. It's disappointing. Ultimately, I do get disappointed by these movies because there's a lot of potential there. There really is, and you're right. Between what humans want to control in nature, I just wanted I want to think more than like. You shouldn't make a giant robot lizard that's like controlled by shit you don't understand, right?
Okay, I just want to add on to, because there's so much here and it doesn't do any of it justice. But they just throw away terms like there's throwaway terms like breakaway civilization here. There's implications of governments or corporations having high level anti-grav tech that could fundamentally change power and energy on Earth, right? And it's kind of secondhand to everything that's going on. So there's like
no.
big
We gotta
ideas
spend
that
time
are
with
just
Millie
like,
Bobby Brown, like
I know,
sneaking
I
through
know.
a facility with the worst security in the world, and there's like no drama, and you're like, why are these people like you're telling me
They're all going to
this is
federal
the
prison, like, immediately,
This is the super high tech, and this is like the disconnect. It's like you've got this super high tech security or super high tech, like we made a robot dinosaur, and then like it's just like stop behind the wall. Security guard passes. Let's rock through. It's like
I know.
you're not giving more gravity and credence to the company that's supposed to be this evil super mega. You're making them look like a bunch of pussies, and then our main characters
Sure.
don't look smart. They're literally just doing the most basic hijinks to like get around, and some of it's humorous and that works, but it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's lesser than that. Every time they cut back to that, I was like, oh god. And I felt so bad because Millie Bobby Brown is like, there's one moment where she's saying something and she's shaking and she's like really giving it her all, and like kudos to her. She's a great actress, but she cannot supplement bad plot and bad story. And like every time we cut back to them, I was like, hopefully, Brian Tyree Henry makes me laugh, which he does frequently. And that's the saving grace, is that he's like very charming, and like the acting is as hard as it can be. But man, these actors, they're being asked to do so much and they're giving so much, and just the material sucks so bad.
Dude, Brian Tyree Henry has been great in everything that I've seen him in, whether it's Atlanta or playing Miles' father in Into the Spider-Verse.
In this
even in
film
this movie,
is excellent.
He's been
everybody
great.
in the film's excellent. It's just to me, wasted potential for such great talent, and something that could be fun and a little more interesting. And that's ultimately what's like just a little frustrating about it. But yeah, I think themes, we got it, we nailed it. What are some of our favorite moments in Godzilla vs. Kong? Danny.
Oh boy.
He's gonna walk us through scene by scene of the entire movie.
Let's start at the beginning. No, I guess yeah. I'll try to go in order, which I'm probably gonna divert real easily. With Kong, I really enjoyed how he was aware that he was in a facility at first. That was actually pretty kind of cool,
yeah.
and just kind of to the how smart Kong is as a creature, as a being. I thought that was actually a pretty cool beat. Like I said, the Hollow Earth stuff with Kong kind of running and finding
Kong is in like a
Godzilla
Truman Show at the beginning of that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the wake up call. Yeah, that was amazing. I actually really enjoyed Godzilla attacking Pensacola because it was a
I did
huge
too.
I hate
trope.
Pensacola.
I did too.
Well, not just because it was Pensacola, but it was actually a cool throwback to Godzilla coming out of the sea and attacking a city. It was very classic Godzilla,
Definitely.
very traditional. Godzilla. I love that he used the atomic breath a lot more in the Japanese movie, specifically the Heisei era. He constantly uses that as his main weapon. So I thought that was a cool kind of throwback to that.
And it's cool because the movie portrays it as him just attacking humans for being destructive, but there actually is a purpose behind it. And I appreciate the film falls.
Which, yeah, for sure. I was actually really, really excited to see Mechagodzilla. Chris and I have had discussions about the design of Mechagodzilla. I think it fits the MonsterVerse. I really enjoyed the integration with the King Ghidorah aspect of it. And
so, Danny, you quickly kind of implied something earlier, and I think I kind of got that. But so Ghidorah's consciousness is implanted into Mechagodzilla, or like hijacks? Is that what's happening?
At some point it does, which is like I said, there's an homage to the third Mechagodzilla film, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, where they actually built Mechagodzilla on the bones of the original 1954 Godzilla.
Okay.
In this case, and this is actually not the head that's in the post-credit scene of King of the Monsters. If you listen to the line, is they're using two of King Ghidorah's heads because they can communicate telepathically of the actual monster. The essentially the head that Godzilla did not blow up at the end of King of the Monsters. The two heads that were remaining, one's being used as the pilot head, and one's actually inside of Mechagodzilla, and that's how they're able to control him, and the pilot is able to use Mechagodzilla like if it were just an extension of his body.
I know they said
Danny,
that telepathy line, but I feel like this was somehow not made at all clear. Did you guys get that question, Chris?
I caught it like on my
I
third
understood that they hooked up a
viewing
bunch of
movie.
rainbow tubes to a prehistoric Titan skull, and it was like
The guy's
magic.
setup,
And every
his VR setup was
sci-fi
pretty
person
sick.
knows that rainbow tubes are
Why does
science.
all that sidebar here? Why does all the science
Colorful.
shit in cockpits and the lab? Why does it all look like the inside of a fucking like 15-year-old gaming PC? Who decided
Daft
that?
Punk
Even
video.
Brian Tyree Henry has a comment about that.
Does he? I didn't
film.
actually catch that.
Yeah, he said if this wasn't like an evil facility, it'd be a great DJ booth.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
I heard that. But
Danny, to your point about Ghidorah and how he is involved in this plot, Brian, I think you're right. I don't think it was like explicitly clear that what was going on, but the first viewing, I did understand that they were using Ghidorah's. Basically, I would say that there's a trinity going on here, trying to recreate Ghidorah's 3 heads. You have the original skull from the post-credits scene of King of the Monsters. You have the consciousness that's inside Mechagodzilla. And then Ren Serizawa, the guy sitting inside of the Ghidorah head, I think is supposed to be a representation of, like, he's supposed to take the place of the 3rd head, basically. So you still have, like, 3 consciousnesses trying to control this one beast. You know, they all make up this ecosystem. I don't know if Danny read it that way.
Yeah, and it's actually another cool little throwback to Godzilla versus King Ghidorah in the Heisei era. There's actually a lot of Heisei tropes in this movie, and you have the human pilot.
Why do I have to fight for all the cool shit? Like, this is cool stuff. I think it's cool conceptual stuff, and the movie just doesn't bother making that a big point. Because, like, my big question, which you're answering now, which is illuminating, and I think it is a cool concept. Admittedly, I just didn't get that conveyed to me. Is like when the pilot loses control of Mechagodzilla, I was wondering what the fuck is that? And you're answering it very well because they're using Ghidorah. It's one of the heads of Ghidorah. That makes total sense. Fits with precedent and this movie. Makes sense. Could have been explained.
Ghidorah takes over the personality of Mechagodzilla, and that's why it goes rampant against the planet. It was doing what it wanted to do.
Which I really dug.
Cool. I didn't get that, though. I said, what? So what is it? But it makes sense that you're saying that, but the movie doesn't bother to establish the drama and conflict of that.
Right.
Yeah, I assumed that it was Ghidorah in there. I just didn't realize the skull was actually inside of Mechagodzilla. That was the main piece that I did.
The skull's not.
The skull
that we see is
No,
outside.
but you're saying there is a skull
there's a second
of
skull.
Ghidorah in Mechagodzilla.
Right.
When does the movie
That's the
explain
one that I
that?
didn't realize. Yeah.
So it's actually I forget the character's name, but I call him Bleach Man because he loves bleach.
Oh
Which
my
also
god!
Hilarious.
What was that?
Showering with bleach. Yeah.
And the drinking joke really tickled a funny bone for me.
Are you talking about the spill at the end? Or
No, there's a part where Millie Bobby Brown and I don't know the other actor's name.
Julian Dennison's like, he drinks bleach.
Yeah, I that definitely was a scene, one of the reshot films in 2020. I absolutely can. I have a feeling that is that.
You absolutely can confirm that is a feeling you have.
I absolutely cannot
Come
confirm
to
it, but I
Pop-O-Holics
have
for
a
those
feeling.
clear, groundbreaking truths.
bleachy
I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you on that one.
You think
I'm gonna
it was a
contact
Trump
Millie-
reference, Danny?
I think so. I'm gonna call.
Wait, so
I'm
how
gonna
does the
call up,
bleach
Millie
tell us
Bobby
that
Brown.
there's a Ghidorah head inside Mechagodzilla?
Oh no,
It doesn't.
I forget, what was the actor's name?
Brian Tyree Henry.
Brian Tyree Henry's character says that because Ghidorah's heads they had too long of a neck, they communicated with each other telepathically, which is actually
No, that is not
true.
telling us there's a skull inside Mechagodzilla's head. That is incorrect.
He actually then says it, that you have one skull here and the other one inside Mechagodzilla. And
Who said? When does that happen?
He does say it? Okay.
He does explain it.
he does explain
okay. We just missed it.
Watch
All
the
right.
movie 7
It's
times.
just a
and
brief-
You
you'll-
just gotta
It's a
watch the
brief-
movie 7 times and watch all.
gotta watch it
Honestly,
7
I
times.
can see how you viewed it as a throwaway line that was just inconsequential. But he does explain how the ecosystem works between
See, what
them.
you had to do was before the release of the movie, they released podcast versions, 45 minutes a piece. There's about 100 of them. If you listen to the episode 37, about 45 minutes into that episode, he discusses how the Ghidorah head might be inside Mechagodzilla, and then you'd understand the actual movie when you're watching it.
And it begins.
Someone's salty.
Salty. It's just a cool concept that I think could like be used in the film to be like a dramatic moment, and it is lost on me. The poor sap who decided to try to enjoy.
Maybe
this
they could have
film.
played
Common
like
pleb.
I can't recall like Ghidorah's theme from King of the Monsters, but I think it would have been cool to maybe play Ghidorah's theme as Mechagodzilla is gaining his own consciousness and destroying Apex. You know, because that's a technical indicator that like, oh hey, look, this is Ghidorah taking over. But, now we're nitpicking how the movie's made.
Yeah, when Mechagodzilla comes alive, he was clearly pissed. And, it's a very exciting part of the film, as you're just like, oh, cool, monsters. Oh, there's a new monster, and he's made of metal and shoots missiles. But, as I know, and everybody knows, missiles don't matter. But anyway, when he comes alive, it reminded me of those, Droid commercials. Remember Droid was, Verizon's Android push?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Droid. When his, eye is turning and it's, zooming into him. I was like, this looks like a Droid commercial.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, cinema has been made.
Hashtag.
You know what?
Brian?
I can keep on going about all of my favorite moments in the film, but I'm gonna do one more, just one little more, and it's when Godzilla actually wins the battle against Kong, where Godzilla practically kills Kong.
Sad stuff.
Amazing
Stop his
stuff.
heart.
That was the definitive win, and Godzilla beat Kong.
Chris, I don't want to step on your feet. Was it a definitive win for our audience?
Thanks. That's an excellent segue, Brian. I really appreciate that. After watching this movie, I went out on my personal Twitter and I actually conducted a little poll because Danny and I had a conversation after he saw the movie in theaters about whether Godzilla or Kong had actually won the battle. And I have since come around on that conversation that Danny and I had, not because of the results of this poll, but just from reflecting on what actually happens in the movie. So in the poll, I asked, who do you think won? Did you think Godzilla won? Do you think Kong won? Or do you think it was a respectful draw? And seriously, this poll got a lot of participation. I really appreciate everyone that participated. I know I'm saying the exact same shit that I say during our weekly upload, but this actually got way more participation than this week's weekly upload poll. So thank you. 67% of the people that participated said that Godzilla clearly won. And they're right. Danny pointed out the moment in which Godzilla won. When Danny and I were having a conversation, I was trying to push that there was a respectful draw because Danny was saying that Kong conceded. And the moment that I was talking about was at the very end of the movie where they both just go their own separate ways. I don't think there was any type of concession in that moment.
They're just bros,
I think
then.
there was that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying respectful draw. I think they were both just like, thank you for helping me take down Mechagodzilla. Let us go to our own domains. And they do so. But Godzilla 100% beat Kong in that moment prior to Mechagodzilla appearing on the scene.
In the actual fight between Godzilla versus Kong, Godzilla definitely defeated him. Kong was about to die. And again, kind of to what I was saying earlier, if it wasn't for human intervention, Kong would have died.
They had to restart his heart, basically.
Right. So definitive, at least at that point. Here's where, at the end, where we had this conversation where you said it was a respectful draw. Kong drops the axe after Godzilla roars at him. His dominance roar, Kong drops the axe. To me, that was Kong knowing how powerful that axe is at this point. He clearly has the intelligence to know what the axe does. He drops it. And that's when Godzilla then kind of turns around and goes. So that to me was Kong yielded. He knew that
waving the white flag.
Yeah. It was like, I'm not going to do it. I know you can kill me.
Oh, I thought it was him going like, I'm not going to fuck with you right now. Or if you're going to fuck with me, I won't use the axe because I know it'll beat your ass. I
that's the way I took it too.
Kong had other things on his mind. I think Godzilla was just being a little bitch. And honestly, like when this movie starts, Kong is like on a silver platter for Godzilla. And then he's having to fight in the middle of the ocean. That's clearly Godzilla advantage. Plus he was chained up right before Godzilla came to fuck him up. Like you can say that he had human help, but that's because Kong's cooler with the human bros. So like that's just your team, bro. It's not like
he's got a human posse.
He's got a human posse. He's like
bro,
he connects more with.
Steve.
He's like, listen, I got this little girl, and she's my boo, and we're tight, and like yeah, she's gonna back me up and defibrillate me with like some sort of weird anti-gravity vehicle that
the phrase is mother box.
The heaves,
Christian.
the heaves.
Yeah, so I don't think
that's
matters.
what those vehicles
but,
are called.
I voted that Kong lost because he lost the fair and square fight. I mean, Kong had an axe, and I like how the axe has like it looks like it's made out of a spine of Godzilla.
It uses one of the old
One of his dorsal plates. Yeah.
one of the dorsal plates from one of the ancestors of Godzilla.
That's cool, man.
Of the current Godzilla.
awesome.
That was pretty cool. That was a smart way of deflecting his blast. One part of his body that actually he uses to generate said breath.
Thank you.
So
I was really lost before you explained all that. This is why we have you on. I'm glad that I at least caught on that it was one of his dorsal plates, so I feel accomplished. But yeah, he got beat fair and square in that instance. But he was a little roughed up. I mean, he went through the center of the earth and was dealing with all these humans and was in cold. Like, I feel for Kong. Godzilla was like in his own groove.
Captivity.
Yeah, he was in captivity. He's kind of, they softened him up. So, I mean, it makes sense. Kong's still the best. Fuck Godzilla. So,
fuck Kong.
All right. Any other favorite moments, Brian, Chris?
I have favorite moments, and I know Brian has favorite moments. So
Go ahead,
Brian,
Chris.
please. I was just gonna say, besides the obvious, final battle between Godzilla and Kong, and the genius way that Danny mentioned that they used his dorsal plate to enhance the battle. I think that one moment
I believe I
where,
brought up that it was his dorsal plate first. Danny elaborated,
either way.
but Christian,
Either way.
he pays attention.
Thank you, Christian and Danny, for bringing that up. I thought the moment where they're battling Mechagodzilla and Godzilla charges the axe and then Kong utilizes it to totally dismember Mechagodzilla was fucking cool.
So good.
It was fucking cool. It wasn't my favorite moment of the whole movie. My favorite moment of the whole movie is literally where we are watching the scene between Batman and Superman in BVS with Godzilla and Kong skins on them. Like, there's a scene at the end of the Godzilla and Kong fight, right before Godzilla almost kills Kong, where Godzilla has his foot on Kong's chest, literally like Batman has his foot on Superman's chest in BVS. And you can almost hear them saying,
Mothra?
Save Martha. You have Godzilla roar, or you have Kong roar at Godzilla, save Martha. Godzilla roar back at Kong, why did you say that name? And then they both roar together. I was like, I cannot believe, like, this has been a meme since Godzilla versus Kong was announced, and I cannot believe that Adam Wingard actually put this fucking scene into the movie. I think if you put the scenes side by side, it would literally almost be the same beats. And yes, they're two giant monsters that do not speak English, but like, I couldn't help but draw that comparison.
Mechagodzilla isn't around at that
I was laughing so hard.
and it's not like they team up. Like, he just leaves them to die. Because like Godzilla would have, Kong would have died.
This is before Mechagodzilla. This is before Mechagodzilla comes.
I know,
fights.
that's what I'm saying.
So it's literally,
but like, I believe
Mechagodzilla's doomsday.
the attitude.
You cannot deny it.
I understand what you're saying, but the attitude of, at least for me, the attitude of like respect. Godzilla didn't look like he respected Kong. He was just kind of like, I'll just leave you to die. You're not even worth killing. That's what I got from the vibe. Like, because Kong would have died. He doesn't like pick him up and like take the kryptonite, as say, out of him. So I think the dynamics at the end of the scene play out a little different. But I mean, it's funny. I mean, it's a funny scene, but I don't think it's directly paralleled. Because like,
I don't know, man.
Kong, like Godzilla walks away, he's like fuck face and like turns around and like wags his tail. Like, he's like, fuck you, Kong. He doesn't like leave with respect or like, I understand you. He's like,
I didn't mention anything about respect. I'm just saying, in that moment where they are in the exact same positioning, yelling at each other one at a time.
They don't kill each other.
It is exactly that scene. And I don't think I'm alone in thinking
clearly
that.
not. There's a meme. I didn't get the same vibe of the scene as far as like the characters' feelings towards each other. Like, but sorry to ruin your meme. It is a fun moment. I'm glad you brought it up.
You didn't ruin the meme. I
meme.
think
Not be
I'm
ruined.
very on to something. Brian, what were your favorite moments?
So we've talked about it a bit. The sign language reveal, I think, was really well done.
That is cool.
In terms of a battle moment, when at some point in the Hong Kong scene, Kong like rips off a circular part of a building and is just like using it like Captain America.
Yeah,
and
like a shield.
It was just so perfect. Kong using tools. I am completely here for it. That was awesome. And then I thought the portal into the Hollow Earth was really cool and visually awesome. There was a bunch of moments. That was one of them that
It's like a 2001 Space Odyssey moment.
Yeah, very
referential
Space
to
Odyssey.
that. Yes, and all of this stuff really just made me want to see this movie on a giant screen, which I'm planning on doing. But the screenings have been absolutely packed around my area. But all the visual stuff was super solid. But yeah, I think when I was the most excited was when Kong grabbed that shield like part of the building, and I was just like completely in the movie at that point.
I appreciated the Godzilla and Mechagodzilla are fighting, and very unique thing happens. Godzilla shoots his blue atomic beam. Mechagodzilla shoots his red atomic beam for no other reason than
Beam battle.
power levels. We get this Kamehameha key blast fight.
Harry Potter,
Classic,
Voldemort.
Dragon Ball.
Energy struggle is what
And
we
I said,
call it.
We know
Yes.
why we're here. We know why this is taking place.
Right.
And, that kind of made it for me. Because it was a very generic homage to Japanese anime. Anyway, this movie's silly as fuck, but I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. Fucking Mechagodzilla is just like, I just couldn't get over it. Like, I get that there's history there. He's in it. I'm glad he's in it. It's fun. It's fun to see robot Godzilla fight organic lizard Godzilla. But I couldn't help think how stupid of an idea it is to be like, how do we beat the Titans? Let's build a robot Godzilla. Like, it's just the stupestest fucking thing.
They've only done
It's
it a
happened
few
many times before, though.
Yeah, no,
franchise.
I'm aware. I'm aware
God.
of why it happened, but it just seems like one of those things that's like, it comes out and it's like, oh, we're getting Mechagodzilla. This is only cool because Mechagodzilla. It's not because, like, if we were thinking about it in 2021 about how humans would overstep their bounds to deal with the forces of nature, would it look like a robot version of nature? It's like the thing resting. It's the whole movie resting on its laurels, resting on its history, and servicing the ideas that have come before it in a way that's not even homage. It's literally like the ending baddie of the film. That's kind of like disappointing to me. But I've talked about this before about how franchise and film stuff can be beholden. Like, it can embrace the things that came before, but it just seems like in the universe that they've so shittily and roughly created of how characters live and breathe on this earth and how Titans are, and how shoddy that whole concept is, it just seems like going from the 2014 Godzilla to like robot Godzilla. Like, I'm glad they're there. It's fun. I enjoyed watching power beams. Who doesn't love a good power beam fight? But to me, it's like we have to make Mechagodzilla. Like, we have to do it, even though it's like you could have a really interesting way that you were creating something that pays homage but is also new. And it's kind of like, oh yeah, this is all like really pretty updating to like the same thing we've been watching. It's just comforting. It's comfort food, you know? You don't want to fuck with mom's potato salad, right? I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, there is a huge leap in technological advancement from
Absolutely.
2014 to 2021 in this MonsterVerse. I agree with you, Christian, that that leap is pretty
And to
insane.
think that you've got you found the way to you found the way to telepathically communicate with an advanced species of creature that communicates telepathically with its heads, and you used that tech and like all the science involved, and you decided to make a robot version of the Titan you're trying to, like, that was your concept of.
It's just paying homage, as you mentioned.
It's like if
while
the
we're
people
talking
behind
about-
like this is my last point. And I promise
No,
I
it's
will
fine.
not talk until the end of the show. But it's like if the Manhattan Project was like, you know, all these scientists, and they're like, they're gonna fight against the axis of evil, and it's like, oh, they're gonna come up with a new weapon, and they revealed it, and it was just a giant robot Hitler.
Oh my God.
We're like, what's better than Nazi Hitler?
Wait a minute.
robot swastika. We found the antipathetic. We found the antithesis
In this
to our
analogy-
enemy, and it is robot Hitler. It's like,
In this analogy, you're saying that Godzilla is
no,
Hitler?
I'm just saying, like, the threat was Godzilla. The
I
threat
get
in
what
World
you're
War
saying.
II was
I get what you're
like,
trying to say.
it-
Yeah.
you know,
Let's create a robotic version of whatever we're fighting. Yes.
Yeah, that's very kaiju. Listen, I'm not actually complaining of this for this movie. It's just kind of like I'm enjoying the film. It's fun as a monster movie, but just seeing robot, it's like maybe I'm getting too old. Maybe I want too much from things, but just to see just the concept of Mecha Godzilla to me is dumb, and probably why I don't love kaiju movies as much as y'all. Is just like that concept to me is just very stupid.
I will say, on this note, a moment we haven't brought up, but the reveal of the company growing the Skull Crushers for testing against this thing, I thought that was kind of a fun reveal. Them being in this giant hall and just how that was all laid out.
Yeah,
with him coming. I thought
it was
that
the brief
cool
moment
enough.
of the Millie Bobby Brown side quest that we have, where I was interested in what they're going to Hong Kong. Godzilla's going to Hong Kong. Ooh, what's happening in Hong Kong? Mecha Godzilla. I was like, of course it fucking is.
Sure,
yeah, why not? Fuck it, let him fight. Anyway, okay, I'm done talking for the rest of this episode, please.
I want to point out, and this is just a personal preference thing, and Danny kind of already mentioned conversations that he and I have had about Mecha Godzilla's design and how adverse I am to it in this film. Look, man, when it comes
I said I would
to
shut up. I'm sorry.
When it comes to releasing product for films, don't let a Funko Pop be the first time you see a fucking kaiju, because every time I look at Mecha Godzilla, I can only see that ridiculous looking Funko Pop, and I just do not like Mecha Godzilla's design. I think he looks so fucking derpy, and I also think that Steven Spielberg made a better contemporary Mecha Godzilla in Ready Player One. He literally took the form of 2014 Godzilla and designed his own Mecha Godzilla. And it's tough, like when a different creator gets to something first outside of the franchise it originates from, I get it. It's tough to look at that and go, well, I can't use that really awesome design. I have to create my own version of it. But fuck, he kind of made the perfect Mecha Godzilla in this thing that wasn't a Godzilla movie. But to me, watching Ready Player One, when I saw that, I was like, I hope they use that design for Mecha Godzilla, because that looks like our current Godzilla in robot form. But this one has weird, derpy, claw arms, and it just, I don't know. It's not very imposing to me personally, but that's a personal aesthetic thing going on. I'm never gonna unsee that derpy ass Funko Pop.
It's got
when I look at this
Lego
Mechagodzilla.
man hands.
He does,
the hands
yeah, and
were a little
I
strange,
don't
but
understand.
I actually
don't
liked the rest of the
understand.
design.
The problem.
Functionally, maybe it's good to grip. It reminds me of the extender grip arms that elderly people use to grab things that are high up on a shelf.
Yeah.
I need to grab that soup can. He has the same fucking arms. Do you guys know what I'm
because they
talking
spend so
about?
much time
Yeah,
on we
absolutely.
got to make his eyes extra red and evil and make it look really evil.
Right,
And it's
right.
fuck, he
we've
needs
totally
arms.
fucking forgot to design his arms.
Get this fucking crane that lifts cars in a junk pile and put it on his hands. Yeah, it's all very.
Loyal listeners, look at the Mechagodzilla in Ready Player One and look at the Mechagodzilla in Godzilla vs. Kong. You tell us which you think is a cooler design. Email us at popaholicscast@gmail.com. I'm really interested to know. That's just my personal opinion that the Ready Player One looks cooler.
It looks more traditional. It definitely is a design taken based not just on the new look of Godzilla. It is also taking elements from the first, the second, and the third Mecha Godzillas. This one had to kind of be its own thing. As much as I really will agree with you. There are seeing the Funko Pop first, I did see the little kind of derpiness in it. I still liked it. I still like the design. To its credit, it was more human built. There's kind of limitations in its design as to how humans would potentially build a robot like that. There's those imperfections of it not looking exactly like a full-blown robot without any seams, like the old Mechagodzilla kind of tended. It was a suit.
Right.
This is more of an actual robot with mechanical parts.
Dude, Christian's showing us a picture of the Mechagodzilla from Ready Player One. It is just a better design.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wish they would have gone with that, but I won't fault them for going with this design either. That might be the fanboy in me talking, and the fact that they just had Mechagodzilla and that they pulled a Kiryu being possessed by ancient Godzilla spirit, in this case Ghidorah. I thought that's pretty gnarly. I thought that was pretty cool.
And I agree with you, dude. Like, I can't fault them for it either. Like I said, they can't
compete.
just steal a design from a different film, even though technically they were making something from their franchise prior to them doing it. You know, that's a tough position to be in, I think. How do we differentiate ourselves from something contemporary that's come before?
Danny, please tell us your final thoughts, and then I'm gonna.
Wait, are we not going to rank?
No, we have no more
movies?
time. It is so late. We have talked so much about this movie. Sorry.
Godzilla vs. Kong, King of the Monsters, Godzilla 2014, Kong Skull Island. There you go.
Is Kong Skull Island your last?
Yeah, because it doesn't have Godzilla.
Why did we invite Danny on this? Oh, because you're the Godzilla. You know more about Godzilla. You know about the research and about the Mecha Godzilla stuff. That's why you're here.
Yeah, exactly.
We appreciate it. I'm so sorry.
I love you too.
I mean, I think we've expressed it. Kong Skull Island's my favorite. Everything else is okay.
I would probably put the 2014 number one, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla versus Kong, and then King of the Monsters being last.
Godzilla 2014 is your favorite?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I know it doesn't have a lot of Godzilla, but like in terms of being a movie, I think it has the best narrative out of all of them.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't hate that. That's probably my second favorite to Skull Island. I don't know. It's probably tied between that and Kong Skull Island. They're kind of like problematic in totally separate ways. The scale is there. I think they set a good precedent for like scale, right? Brian?
Yeah.
I think I'm in agreement that Kong Skull Island is the most consistent, and it knows what movie it is. I'd have to come back to Godzilla 2014. I think on first view, I liked this movie more than King of the Monsters. I will say that. Even without seeing it in theaters, which is surprising. I think I'm going to like this one even more when I'm able to see it on a big screen.
Yeah, cool. A lot of homogeny, besides Danny. Just hating on Kong.
Hey, I appreciate the contrast.
Silly monkey.
Any final thoughts? I've expressed literally everything I have to say about this movie. I said more than I even thought I would. Any final thoughts?
I'll say if you haven't watched these movies previously and you want to check out. I think watching Kong Skull Island right before this is a good idea. This is a Kong-centric movie. If you haven't seen it since it came out, I think it's worth revisiting. It really holds up. And yeah, there's fun to be had here, even if thematically they're relatively surface level.
I agree wholeheartedly with what Brian
Agreement here as well.
I enjoyed the movie. I'm not going to deny it. But
You're about to kick it off right as we end recording. You're going to watch it for an 8th time.
Most likely. No. I think it was a beautiful piece of art. I really enjoyed the colorfulness, the how the monsters looked, the choreography of the fights, the special effects, the way that they made the beams and everything looked. I thought that was fantastic. The way that Mechagodzilla moved was pretty cool. I think you said it the best, Chris. It was a fun movie. I know it's not the most movie out there, but it was a fun movie, and I think any kaiju fan or somebody who likes to see giant monsters fight and Godzilla fans will enjoy this movie thoroughly, just because of the awesome set pieces and the action scenes.
Definitely.
And if I may ask your loyal listeners, if the MonsterVerse were to continue, would you like to see new monsters or some of the old Toho classics brought and modernized into the MonsterVerse? I think Chris and I had this conversation, and I would love to know what people would want to see. Either Toho classics like Gigan,
I think Legendary
Destroya.
also wants to know what people want to see. They're looking
I'm sure,
for
yeah.
ideas.
Trying to help out the cause. Maybe they'll call me, be an extra in the movie. I'll be okay with that.
So I can't remember, in King of the Monsters, were most of the other kaiju they showed, they weren't from historical movies,
No, there were original characters. The only 4 monsters were Godzilla, Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra. There was a monster that really looked like Anguirus, which is kind of like a quadruped sort of monster with spikes in his back. The one that comes out from the monster. A lot of people thought that was Anguirus.
I mean, I know I did.
And that's
Just the worst.
Oh my god! And I think there was like a spider silica, I think is what it's called, something like that. It kind of looked like Kamacuras from one of the older films, but no, I think they took inspiration from some of the monsters, but they were definitely original pieces.
Yeah, I definitely appreciated seeing like a wide variety of the monsters. I think maybe because of all the baggage from historical stuff, it may free them up a bit story-wise if they were to focus more on a new character, which I think could benefit them as movies. I'd be interested in that for sure.
Cool.
Email us at popaholicscast@gmail.com with your answers, or just reach out to us on Twitter at Pop-O-Holics. We're excited to hear your opinions.
I feel like they hit the big ones, right? That's like they hit all the ones that I knew not knowing much about Godzilla. So I think anything else they could, which they won't do, but they could take a lesser character and make it cool and interesting. But that's not going to happen. That's not what they're in the business of doing. I think we are sooner to see like a Swamp Thing versus, or like a, Loch Ness Monster versus Godzilla or something.
A lot of people have said that they want to see the Cloverfield monster against Godzilla.
That'd be cool.
Would it?
Oh,
I'd be down for that.
Yeah. Well,
even though the Motus in 2014 kind of look like the Cloverfield monster a little bit.
yeah. They definitely do.
Yeah. They have that gray aesthetic.
well, that's going to do it for Godzilla versus Kong. It's going to be a long month for at least me over here. But I'm going to try to enjoy it. I said up front, I enjoyed watching this movie. It was not the worst movie ever. Yeah. So let us know what you thought about this episode. Rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts if you enjoyed this conversation. You let me know how wrong I am about kaiju films and this film in particular. I'm so happy to hear it. And Chris and Brian, where can people find more of your work on the internet?
Loyal listeners, you can find me on Twitter at Chris Conkling, talking about all things nerdy, movies, fucking Christian, man. Talking about all things nerdy, movies, television, video games, comics, designer collectibles, you name it, I'm talking about it. Brian, where can they find you?
You can find me at True Pop-O-Holic.
You can find me at Christian Katie. I'm also...
It's at Dude Looks Like a Katie, which no one responded to. But
no,
I'm
I
sticking by
actually
that joke.
followed up because I read that and it made me chuckle. That's
so
so
good.
inside baseball. So you can also find my band at Midnight Satire. Search Midnight Satire on your favorite streaming platform of choice and listen to my music. It's not as good as the visual effects and Godzilla vs. Kong, but we're getting there. We're going there. New stuff on the way, so check it out. Danny, thank you so much for being our guest. Where can people find more of your stuff on the internet?
Thanks for having me. You can find me on the Instagrams at Fenryx, Fenryx, and in Twitter at FenRYXX for Godzilla comments
dirty,
and
dirty
aviation
side
videos.
Yeah, that's the adults only
Yes.
section.
I'm learning to fly a plane so that if Godzilla ever does show up, I can either do one of two things. Fly up to him and pet him, or fly away from him.
Or both. First
Or
the
both.
pets, then the flyaway.
For some
you go.
Godzilla
True, there we
Nilla
go.
and some Kong Dong, go ahead and check out the Fen and Rix XXX. I'm very tired. This is very I honestly, before we started this, and I should have anticipated, was like, I have really nothing to say about this movie other than like monsters are fun, I guess. And here we are. So we have a whole month full of monsters ahead. I know a lot of people are psyched, and I'm very excited for them. It's going to be cool. Brian and Chris, thank you so much for doing this. Looking forward to next week. Check out our weekly uploads. That's where Danny's been on. He's talking about what he's been consuming, and it's a lot of fun. We really appreciate having you, Danny. Thanks for being here, and we will see all the listeners next time when we talk about more monsters. I believe it's Kong versus Godzilla.
Yeah, King Kong versus Godzilla from 1962.
Psyched, so psyched. It'll be cool. I'm actually very interested to see that. So get excited too, listener, and we'll see you next time on.